So Brian Steele went down a pretty predictable path of trying to attack OTF Jam today. It didn't quite go his way, but he definitely did make a good point. One of the most obvious things that we knew we was going to hear regarding Jam was obviously his cooperation. Now, he's copped out to 3 murders, and, you know, obviously he is expecting something in exchange for cooperating and, you know, trying to help put Dirk away. Now, Brian Steele said, you're testifying under an agreement, right? You hope to be released. And then Jam was basically like, not released, I'm looking for something. And then Brian Steele's like, do you want to be incarcerated? He said, look, you do the crime, you do the time. I just don't want the rest of my life, though. He basically said, I want to be free at some point, and he would refuse to say that he was expecting a specific amount of time. He basically just said, look, I want numbers, I don't want my whole life. And Brian Steele was hitting him back. He said, hey, well, I heard that you told one of your loved ones that you only expect to serve 18 months. And Jam was like, someone I love? What? Who are you talking about? He said, you told your wife on a jail call you was only expecting to be in there for 18 months and you're going to be in home for for one of your kids' birthdays. And he basically said, I don't remember saying that. I don't know what you're talking about. And it was interesting because it's like, I thought Brian Steele was about to introduce some evidence to that, but then he didn't. He kind of moved on. But then he continued on talking. I'm not going to lie. I think he was striking fear into the hearts of the jury. The idea that this guy who allegedly, not even allegedly, he's admitted to catching 3 bodies, might just be back out here on the streets. But it was basically made clear that he wasn't planning, he wasn't expecting to be out soon. You know, Brian Steele's saying, what, you thought you could manipulate your way to get out of custody? You've been in and out of custody your whole life. You understand the criminal system. You're street smart. He said, I'm street smart, but I never said I understood the criminal system. So another thing that Brian Steele said, he said to Jam, he said, look, now you're on the witness stand, you're hoping you'll get back on the street. Apparently Jam said, yeah, I guess. And they said, well, you're the reason why Dirk's in court. And after that, he basically said, well, no, I just told the truth. Brian Steele said the truth's going to be decided by the public or the jury. And then he said, you're begging and hoping for a guilty verdict on Dirk so that you can get out. Jam clapped back. He said, no, I'm not. I'm just here admitting my side and being honest. Brian Steele said, you want to go home? Jam said, look, I just want a number. I want to go home at some point. Brian Steele said, you want to go home immediately. You realize what you did. You were on this crazy mission to do murder and you're trying to get out of it. So look, to be honest, I feel like it was kind of very interesting. I feel like maybe Brian Steele thought that it was going to land harder, this whole thing of like, you're just cooperating to get out of this. But look, Jam was prepared. Jam was coming a lot more prepared than YSL Woody when it came to this questioning. Jam seemed to basically be arguing, look, I'm not expecting to get any specific amount of time. And there was even mentioned afterwards, I think there was one point where Jam actually said, look, like, judge could give me life if he wants to. Like, I don't know, I've not got any agreement. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what he ends up getting. Apparently, he might still get some time off, even if Dirk doesn't get convicted. So that was Brian Steele's angle. I don't think it necessarily landed perfectly, but like it was interesting.